Have you ever noticed how certain patterns in your life seem to repeat themselves no matter how hard you try to change them? Maybe you find yourself reacting to situations with more intensity than seems necessary. Perhaps you struggle with self-doubt, fear, or frustration that feels bigger than the moment deserves. Maybe there are memories, feelings, or experiences from your past that quietly influence your thoughts and decisions, even when you think you have moved on. These patterns, reactions, and emotional echoes often trace back to our childhood. The earliest years of life are not just a time of learning skills or forming friendships. They are the foundation upon which we build our entire emotional and psychological world. How we were treated, what we learned to expect from others, and even the messages we received, subtle or overt, about what is acceptable to feel, express, or even think, all leave lasting imprints. Sometimes we carry these imprints so deeply that we barely recognize them, yet they continue to shape who we are and how we experience the world. Carl Jung, one of the most influential thinkers in psychology, offered a way to understand these hidden patterns through the concept of the shadow. The shadow is the part of ourselves we do not see or fully accept. It is made up of the traits, feelings, desires, and experiences that we have repressed, denied, or tucked away, often because they felt too dangerous, too painful, or simply unacceptable to express as a child. This is not about weakness or moral failing. The shadow is neutral. It is part of our humanity. It may contain anger that we were told to suppress, sadness that felt unsafe to show, fears we were trained to ignore, or aspects of our personality that others discouraged. It may even hold qualities we admire in others, but have not yet allowed ourselves to embrace. Jung famously said, "Everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is." In essence, the parts of ourselves we avoid or hide grow heavier over time, influencing our thoughts, decisions, and emotional responses without us even realizing it. They quietly shape our lives, sometimes in ways that feel confusing, frustrating, or limiting. But the shadow is not something to fear. It is not a sign that something is wrong with us. In fact, it is a powerful key to understanding ourselves more fully and freeing ourselves from old patterns. By bringing the shadow into awareness, we can reclaim the energy, emotions, and traits that have been hidden or repressed, and we can begin to use them consciously and creatively. The purpose of this work is not to dwell on the past or to assign blame for what happened during childhood. It is about recognition, acceptance, and integration. It is about understanding why certain feelings or reactions arise, and learning how to relate to them in a way that empowers rather than limits us. When we face our shadow, we are not trying to erase it. We are giving it a place in our conscious life, learning from it, and allowing it to guide us toward a life that feels more whole, authentic, and intentional. Healing your childhood shadow is a journey of self-discovery. It requires patience, courage, and honesty. There will be moments of discomfort, moments when confronting memories or emotions feels overwhelming, and moments when it seems easier to turn away. But every step toward acknowledging your shadow is a step toward freedom, clarity, and emotional resilience. Carl Jung said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." The darkness, the parts of yourself you may have hidden or denied, is not something to escape from. It is something to bring into light with compassion and understanding. As you begin this journey, you may discover that the patterns that once controlled you can be transformed. The fears that once held you back can become sources of insight. The traits you once ignored or denied can become sources of strength. By exploring your childhood shadow, you are not just revisiting the past. You are actively shaping the future you want to live. You are giving yourself the chance to live a life guided by awareness rather than by unexamined patterns. This work is deeply human. Every one of us carries parts of our past that influence the present. Every one of us has hidden feelings, unspoken fears, and qualities we have yet to fully embrace. By acknowledging these parts and learning to integrate them, we step into a life that is richer, freer, and more connected to who we truly are. This is the purpose of exploring the shadow: to understand ourselves, to heal what has been wounded, and to create a future built not on avoidance or denial, but on awareness, acceptance, and conscious choice. Chapter 1: Understanding the Childhood Shadow. When we talk about the childhood shadow, we are talking about parts of ourselves that developed early in life, but were never fully seen, accepted, or expressed. Think back to your earliest memories. Some are joyful, some are confusing, and some might carry feelings you didn't know how to process at the time. Maybe there were moments when you felt fear, sadness, or anger, but you were told to hide it, or that it wasn't okay to feel that way. Maybe you felt pressure to be good, perfect, or quiet. And in the process, parts of yourself, the raw, authentic, sometimes messy parts, were pushed aside. These pushed aside parts don't disappear. they stay with us. They become part of the shadow, quietly influencing how we think, feel, and act as adults. The shadow is often described as the dark side of the psyche, but it is not inherently dark or bad. It is simply hidden. It contains both things we fear in ourselves and things we long to be. It might include anger, jealousy, or sadness, but it can also include creativity, curiosity, and courage, qualities we denied ourselves because they were discouraged or misunderstood. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." In other words, these hidden parts of ourselves guide our choices, our reactions, and our emotions in ways we rarely notice. Without awareness, they can feel like invisible strings controlling our lives. Understanding the childhood shadow requires gentle curiosity. It is about noticing patterns without judgment. For example, you might realize that you often feel nervous when receiving criticism, even in situations that seem small or safe. That nervousness may trace back to a childhood experience where you felt judged or unworthy. Or perhaps you notice that you avoid certain challenges, even though you know you are capable, because an inner voice carries a fear rooted in early experiences of failure or disappointment. These patterns are not a reflection of weakness. They are echoes of survival strategies your younger self developed. Your shadow contains the story of how you learned to navigate the world, and it continues to influence your adult life until it is brought into awareness. The shadow is also deeply personal. No two shadows are the same because each one is shaped by unique experiences, family dynamics, societal pressures, and internal responses. This is why the process of understanding the shadow is about self-reflection rather than comparison. It is about looking inward with honesty and compassion. It is about asking yourself, which parts of me have I ignored, denied, or pushed away? Which emotions have I buried? Which desires have I labeled as unacceptable? Which qualities in others do I admire but have never allowed myself to embrace? These questions are not easy, and they may bring up discomfort or resistance. That is natural. The shadow often resists being seen because it has existed in hiding for so long. Exploring the shadow is also an act of self-respect. It is a way of saying, I matter. My experiences matter. My feelings matter. By acknowledging the parts of yourself that you have hidden or denied, you begin to reclaim the energy and life that has been tied up in repression. You begin to understand yourself on a deeper level, recognizing that your reactions, choices, and patterns have meaning. Healing the shadow is not about erasing mistakes or pretending the past didn't happen. It is about understanding how the past shaped you and learning how to live consciously despite it. The childhood shadow is not just about negative experiences or emotions. It is about the totality of the self that has been left in the unconscious. It includes the gifts and strengths you may have never realized you possessed, the creativity you may have suppressed, the resilience you may have ignored. Jung described this process of uncovering the shadow as a journey of wholeness. By facing the parts of yourself that were hidden, you allow the unconscious to become conscious. You begin to integrate your shadow into your conscious life, and in doing so, you take the first steps toward healing, growth, and transformation. Understanding the shadow is the foundation for healing. It is the first step toward breaking free from patterns that no longer serve you. By learning to recognize and acknowledge these hidden parts, you set the stage for change. You begin to see your reactions for what they are, signals, not truths. You begin to understand that your childhood experiences shaped you, but they do not have to define you. This understanding allows you to approach life with more self-awareness, compassion, and freedom. The childhood shadow, once seen and integrated, becomes a powerful source of insight, strength, and authenticity. Chapter 2. The 5 Signs. Your childhood shadow is influencing your life. Many of us go through life without realizing how much our childhood shadow shapes our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. It is subtle, often hidden in plain sight, quietly steering choices and reactions that feel automatic or unavoidable. Recognizing the signs of the shadow's influence is the first step toward understanding yourself more deeply and beginning the process of healing. These signs may show up in your feelings, your habits, or even your sense of self. You might not notice it at first, because the shadow works quietly, almost like a whisper, guiding your actions. But if you pause and reflect on your life, patterns begin to emerge. There are certain indicators, moments, feelings, and behaviors that signal your shadow is at work. By paying attention to these, you can start to see the invisible threads connecting your past experiences to your present life. Let's explore some of the most common signs that your childhood shadow is influencing you. 1. Recurring emotional patterns. One of the most common signs is recurring emotional patterns that feel disproportionate to the present moment. Perhaps you find yourself overreacting to minor setbacks, feeling intense anxiety about things that seem small, or experiencing sadness or anger that you cannot easily explain. These reactions are often echoes of unresolved experiences from childhood. Your younger self may have learned to respond in certain ways as a survival mechanism. And now, even as an adult, those patterns remain active. Jung observed that people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. These emotional patterns are often the soul's way of signaling that there are hidden parts that need attention. 2. Repetitive behaviors or life patterns. Closely connected to recurring emotions are repetitive behaviors or life patterns. Maybe you find yourself making the same choices over and over, even when you consciously want things to be different. Perhaps you attract similar challenges, experience the same kinds of conflicts, or struggle with consistent self-sabotage. These repetitions are rarely random. They often indicate that your shadow is influencing your decisions unconsciously. Each repeated pattern is a message, an invitation to look deeper at why your life seems to loop in certain ways. When you notice these patterns, you can begin to understand the messages your shadow is sending and bring those unconscious dynamics into awareness. 3. Difficulty with self-acceptance or harsh self-criticism. Another clear sign is difficulty accepting yourself or being overly critical. Many of us carry voices from childhood that tell us we are not enough, that we must be perfect, or that certain feelings are unacceptable. These internalized messages become part of the shadow when we continue to deny or reject aspects of ourselves. You may notice that you are overly critical of your mistakes, struggle to celebrate your achievements, or feel guilt and shame about things that are outside your control. These feelings are not flaws. They are clues, pointing to parts of yourself that have been neglected and need acknowledgement. Recognizing them is a gentle way of beginning to bring your shadow into consciousness. 4. Discomfort or judgment toward others. Another subtle sign is feeling discomfort or judgment toward certain traits in others. When you notice intense irritation, envy, or judgment of qualities you see in other people, your shadow may be reflecting aspects of yourself that you have not yet accepted. For example, if you feel resentment toward someone's confidence, creativity, or assertiveness, it may be because those qualities exist in you too, but you have not fully allowed yourself to embrace them. These moments can be uncomfortable, yet they are powerful mirrors, showing you hidden parts of your psyche. By paying attention, you can transform these reactions into insight and self-understanding. 5. Persistent feeling of emptiness or lack of fulfillment. Finally, a persistent sense of emptiness or lack of fulfillment can indicate the shadow's influence. Even when life seems good on the surface, you may feel that something essential is missing. This emptiness often signals that parts of yourself have been left unconscious or unexpressed. Your shadow may hold the passions, desires, and emotional truths that have been silenced. Exploring these feelings with curiosity and compassion can help you reconnect with these lost or denied parts, bringing a sense of wholeness and vitality back into your life. Recognizing these signs is not about blaming yourself or dwelling on the past. It is about developing awareness and understanding. Each sign is a doorway, inviting you to explore, reflect, and integrate. When you notice these signals and respond with curiosity rather than judgment, you take meaningful steps toward reclaiming hidden parts of yourself and living a life shaped by conscious choice rather than unconscious patterns. By becoming aware of how your shadow influences your life, you gain the ability to work with it rather than being controlled by it. The childhood shadow, once understood, becomes a powerful teacher and ally, showing you the way to a more authentic, empowered, and fulfilling life. Chapter 3. Why integrating the shadow is important. Integrating the shadow is not just a psychological concept. It is a profound act of self-liberation. For much of our lives, the parts of ourselves that we have hidden, denied, or rejected are consuming energy without our awareness. Think about it. Every time we suppress anger, sadness, fear, or even joy and creativity, we are using a part of ourselves to keep these feelings out of sight. This is energy that could otherwise be channeled into living fully, into growth, into meaningful action. When we begin to face and integrate the shadow, that energy is freed. It is as if a weight we have been carrying for decades suddenly becomes lighter, and we can move through life with more ease and presence. We begin to realize how much of our energy was devoted to holding back, hiding, or defending against our own inner world. Integration allows us to reclaim that energy and direct it toward living authentically and intentionally. Integration also leads to authentic self-expression and emotional resilience. When we deny parts of ourselves, we are constantly performing, constantly managing how we appear to the world. This performance can be exhausting, and it often keeps us disconnected from our true feelings, desires, and potential. By acknowledging the shadow, we open the door to genuine self-expression. We learn to embrace our emotions fully, without judgment or fear. This does not mean that life suddenly becomes easy or free from difficulty. Emotional resilience is not about avoiding pain. It is about learning to navigate it with awareness and self-compassion. As Jung said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. When we bring the shadow into consciousness, we build a deeper inner strength that allows us to respond to challenges with clarity and courage, rather than reacting automatically or unconsciously. Another critical reason for shadow integration is that it prevents past wounds from unconsciously controlling our decisions. Many of us make choices based on fear, insecurity, or unresolved experiences from childhood without realizing it. Perhaps we avoid opportunities because of an inner voice that learned to protect us in our early years. Perhaps we overcompensate or overperform because we were once made to feel we were never enough. These patterns, if left unexamined, continue to shape our lives in ways that may feel frustrating, limiting, or confusing. By integrating the shadow, we begin to see these influences clearly. We recognize the ways our past has shaped our responses, and we gain the power to choose differently. Integration allows us to respond from a place of conscious awareness rather than unconscious habit. We begin to reclaim agency over our lives, making decisions rooted in clarity, purpose, and authenticity. Integration is also deeply liberating on a psychological and emotional level. When the shadow is acknowledged and embraced, we no longer need to fear our own inner world. The emotions, desires, and qualities that were once hidden or rejected can now be fully owned as part of who we are. This does not mean we become perfect or without flaws. It means we become whole. A whole person is not one who is without darkness, but one who has seen, accepted, and integrated that darkness. This wholeness brings a profound sense of freedom. It allows us to engage with life fully, to take risks, to create, and to connect with others in ways that are grounded in truth rather than pretense. Finally, integrating the shadow fosters a deeper understanding and compassion for both ourselves and the world around us. When we see the ways we have denied or suppressed parts of ourselves, we also become more attuned to the struggles of others. We recognize that everyone carries a shadow, and that our actions and judgments are often influenced by what is hidden or unacknowledged. This awareness cultivates empathy, patience, and a more compassionate approach to relationships and life circumstances. Integration is not only about personal growth, it is about participating more fully in life with an open heart and clear mind. In essence, integrating the shadow is an act of reclaiming your life from the unconscious forces that have been guiding it without your permission. It is about transforming repression into energy, confusion into clarity, and fragmentation into wholeness. It is a journey that requires courage, patience, and self-compassion. But it is one of the most powerful steps you can take toward living authentically. By facing the parts of yourself you once hid, you unlock the potential for a life that is richer, freer, and more fully your own. Chapter 4. Revealing. 6 practical steps to begin. Shadow integration. Integrating the shadow is a journey. And while it takes time and patience, there are clear steps you can take to begin the process. Each step builds on the previous one, guiding you gently from awareness to integration. There are 6 key steps that can help you navigate this path. Step 1. Self-reflection. The first step is self-reflection. Begin by observing your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors without judgment. Notice the moments when you feel triggered, frustrated, or unusually sensitive. Ask yourself gently, why do I feel this way? What is beneath this reaction? Reflection can take the form of journaling, meditative thought, or quiet observation. The goal is simply to bring awareness to patterns that may have been shaped by your childhood experiences. This step lays the foundation for all the work that follows, because you cannot integrate what you do not first recognize. Step 2. Acknowledgement without judgment. Once you notice these patterns, the next step is acknowledgement without judgment. Often, we resist parts of ourselves because we believe they are unacceptable or wrong. Instead, approach these feelings or impulses with curiosity and acceptance. Notice them, name them, and allow them to exist as part of you. As Jung said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. By acknowledging your shadow in this way, you begin to reduce its unconscious control and create the possibility for conscious integration. Step 3. Exploration of the shadow through observation and expression. After acknowledgement comes exploration. Engage actively with your shadow through observation and expression. This could be creative expression, such as writing, drawing, or movement, or even having an imagined conversation with your shadow to understand its needs and fears. The key is to explore with curiosity rather than self-criticism. This step helps turn what was hidden into something tangible, something you can work with intentionally. Exploration allows you to learn from the shadow and understand how it shapes your present life. Step 4. Integration through conscious choice. The fourth step is integration through conscious choice. As you become aware of your patterns and emotions, practice responding differently. Instead of reacting automatically with fear, defensiveness, or avoidance, ask yourself, what choice aligns with who I truly want to be? Each conscious choice strengthens your ability to respond from awareness rather than habit. Over time, these choices reshape your behavior and life, transforming the shadow from a hidden influence into a source of insight and creativity. Step 5. Self-compassion and patience. Integration is not always easy, which brings us to Step 5. Cultivating self-compassion and patience. The shadow may bring up feelings that are painful or uncomfortable. Treat yourself gently, understanding that this is part of the process. Progress may be slow, and setbacks may occur. Each moment of awareness and each step forward counts. Patience allows the process to unfold naturally and ensures that you remain connected to yourself with kindness rather than judgment or frustration. Step 6. Seeking support and guidance when needed. The final step is to seek support and guidance when necessary. Shadow work can be intense, and having a mentor, therapist, or supportive community can help you navigate difficult emotions safely. Guidance is not a sign of weakness, but a tool to help you maintain clarity and move through the process more effectively. Support ensures that your journey remains grounded and that you have resources when the work feels overwhelming. By following these 6 steps, self-reflection, acknowledgement without judgment, exploration, conscious choice, self-compassion, and patience, and seeking support, you gradually bring your shadow into awareness and integrate it into your life. Each step is connected, each one preparing you for the next, creating a steady path toward wholeness, emotional resilience, and authentic self-expression. Shadow work is a journey, but with these steps, you can navigate it thoughtfully and compassionately, transforming past wounds into a foundation for a more conscious and empowered future. Chapter 5. Maintaining your shadow work. Shadow work is not a one-time event or a task you check off a list. It is a lifelong relationship with yourself, a continuous journey of noticing, understanding, and integrating the parts of your psyche that were once hidden or denied. The real transformation happens over time, in the small, consistent acts of awareness, reflection, and conscious choice. Maintaining shadow work is about creating daily and weekly practices that keep you in touch with your inner world, even when life gets busy, complicated, or overwhelming. The first key practice is ongoing self-awareness. This means regularly checking in with yourself, observing your thoughts, emotions, and reactions, and noticing when old patterns or triggers appear. Pay attention to moments of discomfort, irritation, or defensiveness. These reactions are often windows into the shadow. Journaling can be a powerful tool here, giving you a private space to explore your inner life, record patterns, and uncover hidden truths. Even a few minutes a day of reflection can create a ripple effect, gradually increasing your understanding of yourself. Mindfulness exercises, meditation, or simply pausing to breathe and notice your inner state are also ways to strengthen this habit of self-awareness. The goal is not to eliminate discomfort, but to approach it with curiosity and attention. Another essential long-term practice is emotional regulation. Shadow work often brings up strong, unexpected emotions. Anger, fear, sadness, or shame may surface as you confront parts of yourself that were once buried. Learning to stay present with these emotions without being overwhelmed is a crucial skill. Techniques such as deep breathing, grounding exercises, or naming your feelings out loud can help you process emotions without reacting impulsively. Over time, you begin to respond from a place of calm awareness rather than automatic defense, which is one of the most profound benefits of shadow integration. Creative expression is another important way to maintain shadow work. The shadow often communicates in symbols, images, and feelings that words alone cannot fully capture. Art, music, writing, movement, or even playful exploration allows you to give form to what was once hidden. By expressing your inner world creatively, you bridge the unconscious and conscious mind, making the shadow more accessible and integrated. Creative expression can also help release energy that was previously trapped in repression, freeing it to fuel growth, insight, and joy. Reflection on life patterns is also vital. As you maintain shadow work over time, you begin to notice recurring themes in your behavior, relationships, and emotional life. These patterns are not signs of failure. They are opportunities for awareness and choice. Take the time to observe these patterns with curiosity rather than judgment. Ask yourself what these repetitions are teaching you, and consider how conscious decisions can interrupt old cycles. The more consistently you notice these patterns, the more capable you become of responding intentionally, instead of unconsciously repeating the past. Another long-term practice is self-compassion. Shadow work can be challenging. You will encounter parts of yourself that you have judged, denied, or feared. In these moments, it is essential to treat yourself with kindness. Recognize that Every person carries hidden shadows, and every step you take toward understanding yourself is a courageous act. Patience and compassion help you move through discomfort without harsh self-criticism, allowing the process of integration to unfold naturally. Finally, seeking ongoing support is a critical element in maintaining shadow work. Even after years of self-reflection and practice, the shadow can present challenges that feel overwhelming. Working with a therapist, counselor, mentor, or supportive community provides safety, perspective, and guidance. Support ensures that you remain grounded and balanced as you navigate the deeper layers of your psyche. It is not a sign of weakness, but an acknowledgement that the journey of self-discovery is complex and often benefits from companionship and guidance. Maintaining shadow work is about weaving these practices into the fabric of everyday life. It is not about perfection or completing a set of steps. It is about consistency, courage, and presence. Each moment of awareness, each pause to reflect, each act of self-compassion strengthens the bridge between unconscious patterns and conscious living. Over time, the shadow becomes less a source of hidden limitation and more a guide toward wisdom, creativity, and emotional resilience. The long-term benefits of maintaining shadow work are profound. You cultivate a deeper understanding of yourself, respond to life with clarity rather than reactivity, and access energy that was previously bound in avoidance or denial. You build resilience to face challenges, emotional depth to navigate complexity, and freedom to live authentically. By committing to ongoing practices of awareness, emotional regulation, creative expression, reflection, compassion, and support, you transform shadow work from a single journey into a lifelong companion, a guide that helps you navigate your life with courage, insight, and wholeness. In essence, maintaining shadow work is not about eliminating darkness, but about learning to walk with it gracefully, to listen to it, and to allow it to inform your growth. It is about turning the parts of yourself that were once hidden into sources of strength, clarity, and wisdom. And as you do this over time, you create a foundation for living fully, consciously, and authentically, no matter what challenges life brings. Chapter 6. Embracing your future through shadow integration. The ultimate goal of shadow work is not only to understand your past, but to shape a future that reflects the fullness of who you are. Integrating the shadow transforms hidden pain, unacknowledged fears, and denied aspects of yourself into sources of insight, strength, and creativity. It allows you to step into life with greater clarity, confidence, and conscious choice. Embracing your future through shadow integration means understanding that the challenges you faced, the patterns you carried, and the emotions you once avoided no longer have to unconsciously dictate your path. One of the first ways shadow integration impacts your future is by freeing energy that was previously tied to repression and avoidance. Think of all the times you reacted automatically out of fear, shame, or habit. This energy, often used to protect yourself from pain or to avoid difficult emotions, can now be redirected toward conscious living. You may find that creativity flows more easily, that you have more focus, or that decision-making feels more aligned with your true self. By reclaiming the energy spent on repression, you gain the freedom to live more fully, to explore new possibilities, and to act intentionally rather than reactively. Shadow integration also cultivates emotional resilience. When you embrace the parts of yourself you once denied, you learn that discomfort, fear, and uncertainty are not threats, but opportunities for growth. Each time you confront a shadow aspect and integrate it, you strengthen your ability to navigate challenges without being overwhelmed. Life's difficulties no longer feel like something to avoid at all costs. Instead, they become moments where your awareness, insight, and inner strength can be applied. This resilience ripples into every area of your life, allowing you to face change, uncertainty, or setbacks with steadiness and clarity. Another profound benefit of embracing your future through shadow integration is authentic self-expression. As you integrate hidden parts of yourself, you begin to show up in the world more fully and honestly. You no longer feel the need to hide or defend aspects of your personality, and this authenticity transforms how you experience life. You are able to pursue goals, make choices, and express yourself in ways that resonate with your deepest values and desires. Carl Jung once said, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." This statement captures the essence of shadow integration. You are no longer a product of unconscious patterns or past limitations. You are an active participant in creating your life. Embracing your future also means developing conscious decision-making. When the shadow is integrated, it no longer drives behavior behind the scenes. Instead, it becomes a source of guidance. You can notice impulses, fears, and desires, understand their origin, and decide how to act in alignment with your values and goals. This level of conscious choice allows you to break free from repeated cycles, to create healthier patterns, and to build a life that feels intentional rather than accidental. Over time, you cultivate a sense of agency, understanding that while life presents challenges, you have the capacity to navigate them with awareness and wisdom. Shadow integration also enhances personal growth and self-knowledge by bringing previously hidden aspects into consciousness. You continuously deepen your understanding of yourself. You become aware of your motivations, your triggers, and your deepest needs. This self-knowledge is not static. It evolves as you grow. Each insight into your shadow opens the door to new discoveries, new strengths, and new ways of living. It creates a cycle of ongoing transformation, where past wounds become teachers, and hidden fears become stepping stones to greater wholeness. Finally, embracing your future through shadow integration is about living a life aligned with your fullest potential. When you integrate the shadow, you no longer unconsciously repeat patterns that limit your growth. You can approach life with curiosity rather than fear, with courage rather than avoidance, and with a sense of purpose rather than obligation. The choices you make, the energy you bring to your endeavors, reflect a deeper alignment with your authentic self. This is not a destination. It is an ongoing journey. Each day, each decision, and each reflection is an opportunity to deepen integration, expand self-awareness, and create a future shaped by conscious choice and inner clarity. The process of embracing your future through shadow integration is ultimately a journey of empowerment. By acknowledging your shadow, exploring it, and integrating it into your conscious self, you transform the limitations of the past into sources of strength. You gain clarity, emotional resilience, and freedom to live authentically. The hidden parts of yourself, once feared or denied, become guides and allies in creating a life that is fully your own. Shadow work allows you to step into your future not as a person constrained by old wounds, but as someone who is whole, aware, and capable of shaping life with intention, courage, and wisdom. In this way, shadow integration is not merely about understanding the past. It is about transforming it into a foundation for your future. It is a lifelong practice of self-discovery, courage, and conscious living. Each step of the journey prepares you to meet life fully, to embrace challenges without fear, and to cultivate a life that reflects your truest, most authentic self. The shadow, once hidden and denied, becomes a source of guidance, insight, and power, illuminating the path toward a future that is rich, vibrant, and profoundly whole. Facing the childhood shadow is not a simple or quick task, but it is one of the most profound journeys you can take for personal growth. Every moment you spend exploring the parts of yourself that were hidden, denied, or suppressed is a step toward understanding who you truly are. The shadow carries the echoes of your earliest experiences, the emotions and patterns that shaped you before you had the tools to process them. By acknowledging these aspects of yourself, you begin to free the energy that was once locked in avoidance, defensiveness, or self-protection. You begin to understand your reactions, your habits, and even your deepest fears with clarity and compassion. This self-awareness is the cornerstone of personal growth because it allows you to respond to life consciously rather than unconsciously, to make choices from understanding rather than habit, and to live a life that is increasingly authentic. Healing your shadow does not require grand gestures or radical transformations overnight. It begins with small, consistent steps, moments of reflection, journaling, observation, and conscious choice. These small acts, repeated over time, create deep shifts. They teach you to notice the patterns that once controlled you, to honor the emotions that arise without judgment, and to bring compassion to the parts of yourself that have been neglected or rejected. Consistency is key. Every pause to reflect, every act of self-compassion, and every honest look inward strengthens the bridge between unconscious patterns and conscious living. These are the building blocks of transformation, and even the tiniest step forward moves you closer to wholeness. Ultimately, integrating your childhood shadow is about more than understanding your past. It is about creating a future where you are empowered, conscious, and free to make choices that align with your deepest values. Healing your past is not about changing what happened. It is about reclaiming the power that was once unconsciously tied to those experiences. It is about turning wounds into wisdom, fear into courage, and hidden aspects of yourself into sources of guidance. As Carl Jung said, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. By choosing to face your shadow, you are accepting yourself fully. And in doing so, you open the door to a life of authenticity, emotional resilience, and conscious freedom. So take that first step. Trust the process, trust your courage, and trust the transformation that unfolds as you integrate your shadow. I hope this video was helpful. If this resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and share your thoughts or experiences. Thanks for watching.